Good morning and a very warm welcome. You are watching Janata Television and this is English Bulletin with me, Yutsa Bhatrai. The headlines first. No new cases of coronavirus reported in last 2 days. All residents of Sun City test negative. Government to adopt new policy to contain coronavirus. Experts suggest forming different zones based on proximity of infected areas. IMF predicts great recession in almost a century. Anticipates world economy could be worse if coronavirus lingers. World faces misinformation about coronavirus. United Nations to launch campaign against rumors. And 2020 Tour de France to begin in late August, the event set to be affected by the French lockdown extension. And now the news in detail. A rapid diagnostic test held at Sun City apartment in Pepsi Cola yesterday turned out negative for the coronavirus. The government had tested the residents of the apartment after 2 people living there tested positive for coronavirus on Tuesday. Speaking at a regular press briefing at the Ministry of Health and Population yesterday, Dr. Baishakh Devkota informed that all 298 tests turned out to be negative.
Sun City apartment ma रहेका 3 जनामा आरडीटी पोजिटिभ देखिए पश्चात थप परीक्षण पीसीआर गर्दा 2 जनामा पोजिटिभ आएको थियो। उहाँहरू बस्ने अपार्टमेन्टमा हामीले हालसम्म 298 जनाको र्यापिड डायग्नोस्टिक टेस्ट गरेका छौं। सबैको परीक्षणको नतिजा नेगेटिभ आएको छ।
Devkota further said that the PCR test conducted between Tuesday and Wednesday did not show any positive case. He said that the government tested a total of 2,894 samples during the period.
हालसम्म 15,800 वटा टेस्ट सम्पन्न भइसकेका छन्। गत 24 घण्टामा 2,894 वटा कुल परीक्षणहरू भएका छन्। यो र्यापिड डायग्नोस्टिक किटबाट गरिने परीक्षण हाम्रो धेरै जसो प्रदेशहरुमा का सबै जसो जिल्लाहरुमा सुरु भएका छन्।
He added that the government has intensified rapid diagnostic tests of people who have returned to Nepal from abroad in the last few weeks. According to Devkota, the government is yet to conduct a rapid diagnostic test only in 14 districts.
क्वारेन्टाइनमा रहेका व्यक्तिहरु हाल आजको दिनमा 5,614 जना हुनुहुन्छ। यसरी परीक्षण यो क्वारेन्टाइनमा बस्ने व्यक्तिहरुको संख्या परीक्षण भएसँगै घट्दै गइरहेको छ। आइसोलेसनमा रहेका बिरामीहरुका संख्या मानिसहरुका संख्या 117 जना छ। काठमाडौँ उपत्यकामा 11 जना हुनुहुन्छ भने काठमाडौँ उपत्यका बाहिर 106 जना हुनुहुन्छ।
According to Devkota, altogether 5,614 people are in quarantine across the country. Likewise, 117 people are in isolation wards, including 11 in the Kathmandu Valley. The government has decided to tighten the lockdown for its effective implementation. It will increase the range of test and identification of the coronavirus cases. A meeting of the High-Level Coordination Committee for the Prevention and Control of COVID-19 yesterday decided that people's movement will be restricted to tighten the lockdown. Secretary of the committee, Narayan Prasad Bidari, during a press briefing said that anyone found disobeying the lockdown can be put into prison in accordance to the Communicable Disease Act 2020.
आपूर्तिलाई सहज राख्ने र सुरक्षालाई कडी कडाउ गर्ने कुरालाई समन्वयात्मक ढंगले लैजाने र त्यसले आवागमनमा खास गरी सामानहरुको ढुवानीमा कतै अवरोध नहुने स्थिति कायम राख्ने र भन्सार नाकामा सहज पनि गराउने सुरक्षित पनि गराउने दुईटै कुरालाई चाहिँ समन्वयात्मक रूपले अगाडि लैजाने कुरा भनिएको छ।
Secretary Bidari also informed that the committee has also decided to make arrangements for increasing the number of tests with the rise in the number of positive cases. The committee also recommended the government to rescue Nepali citizens working for the United Nations in Afghanistan. The committee also decided to change the Naraini Provincial Hospital to a dedicated coronavirus treatment hospital by increasing the number of required medical appliances.
जहाँसम्म औषधिजन्य सामग्री उपकरणहरू त्यसको आयातको क्रममा निजी क्षेत्रबाट आयात गरिने कुरालाई राज्यको तर्फबाट सहजीकरण गर्ने, स्वास्थ्य मन्त्रालय र मातहतको निकायबाट खरिद गर्ने प्रक्रियालाई निरन्तरता दिने, त्यसलाई कायमै राख्ने, सरकार बिचको G2G प्रोसेसबाट ल्याउने कार्य पनि त्यसलाई पनि अगाडि बढाउने र आजै परराष्ट्र मन्त्रालय, स्वास्थ्य मन्त्रालय समेतबाट आज चीनको चाहिँ नि सम्बन्धित सप्लाई गर्ने निकायसँग पत्राचार भएर आजै अन्तिम टुङ्गो लागेर सामान G2G पद्धतिबाट आउने कुराको पनि अलमोस्ट निदो भइसकेको अवस्था छ।
Secretary Bidari also informed that the high-level committee has decided to make the import of medical supplies easier for the private sector while also giving continuity to the import of these supplies through other models, including the G2G. He further informed that the Foreign Ministry and the Health Ministry have both made correspondence to their Chinese counterparts, and after 3 rounds of video conferencing, the final decision on the issue will be made soon. The meeting also decided to increase security along the border areas to ease the import and prevent cross-border movement of people. The government has adopted a new policy to contain the coronavirus, suspecting that the deadly disease has entered the 3rd phase of transmission in the country. The new policy will be effective from April 27. The Ministry of Health and Population decided to formulate new strategies after a meeting with the health experts yesterday. The new measures were taken after 2 persons who returned to Nepal from the UK about a month ago tested positive for coronavirus. The health experts advised the government to seal an entire community if 1 person is found infected. The experts also suggested the government to change the model of lockdown. They said the complete closure like the one we are experiencing will not be viable after the existing lockdown expires. They proposed forming red, yellow and green zones based on the proximity of the places where infections are found. This is Janata Bulletin. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. We continue with other national news. The District Administration Office Kathmandu has decided to stop issuing vehicle passes except for funeral procession. The district administration took such decision after excessive demand for vehicle passes threatened the lockdown measures. Therefore, the DAO said in a statement Therefore, the DAO said in a statement that passes will now only be provided for vehicle users who need to attend funeral of a relative. The statement signed by Krishna Bahadur Rao, the Deputy Administrative Officer of Kathmandu, has stated that the decision will remain in force until further notice. The office had been issuing emergency passes for vehicles to operate during the lockdown. E-passes were also generated since Tuesday. For vehicles carrying essential supplies such as food, vegetables and drinking water, passes will still be generated online. For vehicles who already own a yellow pass do not need an e-pass, the administration further stated. Former Prime Minister and Executive Chairman of the ruling Nepal Communist Party Pushpa Kamal Dahal has hinted at extension of the ongoing lockdown until the spread of COVID-19 is completely contained in the nation. Dahal made such statement during an online interview with JanataTelevision yesterday. No astrological claims can be made about how long will the lockdown continue right now, Dahal further said. On a different context, Dahal said that he has never cheated on anyone yet and upheld that no force can disturb NCP's unity. Dahal opined that he has not only obliged to the written agreements but also remains committed to his verbal promises made with others. Dahal, who is usually preoccupied with party meetings and other political engagements in normal days, said he has cut communication and is abiding by the government's lockdown order at his residence in Komaltar, Lalitpur. Meanwhile, 2 persons who had tested positive for coronavirus during rapid diagnostic test in Saptari have tested negative for the disease through PCR test. The government had tested 7 persons who had returned from India, suspecting them of being infected with coronavirus. They had reportedly visited a mosque in New Delhi where other cases have been reported. 1 person each from Cuttack municipality and Tilati rural municipality had earlier tested positive for coronavirus during the rapid test. However, the PCR test turned out negative according to Dr. Chumanlal Das of Gajendra Narayan Singh Hospital. And now the news from economic front. The International Monetary Fund has warned of great recession in almost a century due to the lockdowns imposed by governments across the world. The IMF further said that the world economy's contraction and recovery would be worse than anticipated if the coronavirus lingers. In its first World Economic Outlook report since the spread of the virus and subsequent freezing of major economies, the IMF estimated on Tuesday that global gross domestic product will shrink 3% this year. Bloomberg quoted IMF chief economist Geeta Govind as saying, "This is a crisis like no other, which means there is substantial uncertainty on the impact it will have on people's lives and livelihood." Even if the IMF's forecast proves accurate, it said output in both advanced and emerging markets would undershot their pre-virus trends through 2021. The cumulative loss in global GDP this year and next could be about 9 trillion, bigger than the economies of Japan and Germany combined, IMF chief economist said. In its forecast, the IMF assumes that countries experiencing severe epidemic will lose about 8% of working days this year during containment efforts and the loosening of restrictions. Time for a short break here at Janata Bulletin. Stay tuned for international news. Welcome back, and now the international news. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has warned that the world is facing a dangerous epidemic of misinformation about COVID-19. According to the Associated Press, the UN chief announced a campaign to flood the internet with facts and science to counter what he called a poison that is putting lives at risk. The UN chief described COVID-19 misinformation as a misendemic that is spreading harmful health advice, falsehoods and wild conspiracy theories. Guterres urged social media organizations to do more to counter the misinformation and to root out hate and harmful assertions about COVID-19. The UN chief said people around the world are scared and want to know what to do and where to turn for advice, and they need science. UN spokesman Stephen Dujarric stressed the importance of accurate information. He said the United Nations will be in touch with various social media companies. He added that quite a few of them are actively trying to root out misinformation and suspending accounts of people pushing out information that is plain wrong and dangerous. You're watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. The biggest event of cycling sport, Tour de France, will now reportedly start on 29th of August this year, following the extension of COVID-19 lockdown by the French government. This year's event was originally scheduled from 27th of July to 19th of July. France has been the worst European nation hit by the outbreak of coronavirus, following Italy and Spain. French President Emmanuel Macron announced the extension of ban on mass gatherings to mid-July on Monday to contain further outbreak. BBC has quoted UCI, the sport's governing body, as saying, "Holding this event in the best conditions possible is judged essential given its central place in cycling economy. Cycling's 2 other 3-week Grand Tour races have also been rescheduled for later this year. As part of a plan by the UCI to stage all major cycling races this season, BBC reported. The Gran Italia, which was scheduled to take place in May, and the Vuelta a España, originally set for September, will now be raced after September's World Championships. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin and the headlines once again. No new cases of coronavirus reported in last 2 days. Health Ministry confirms all residents of Sun City test negative. Government to adopt new policy to contain coronavirus. Experts suggest forming different zones based on proximity of infected areas. IMF predicts Great Recession in almost a century. Anticipates world economy could be worse if coronavirus lingers. World faces misinformation about coronavirus. UN to launch campaign against rumors. And 2020 Tour de France to begin in late August. The event has been affected by the lockdown extension. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website JanataSamachar.com. We urge all our viewers to abide by the government directives of the lockdown and follow healthy hygienic practices to keep safe from any infections. Keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.